All right, so in this video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a border. So let's just say this is our canvas, this is our sheet of paper that we are going to put a piece of artwork on. But the one thing we don't wanna do is we don't wanna go all the way to the edge. We wanna create a border around the edge so that way we have room for a mat. Okay, a mat is something that gets put over a piece of artwork on the outside rim before it is framed, if you take it that far, but it just cleans it up and it makes the picture look nice and neat. So when you put on a mat, there has to be some excess paper outside of the drawing or the painting itself so you don't cover up the painting or the drawing, whatever it may be. So we want to create a border, and then we stay with inside that border, and then that border will become what attaches to the mat. Okay, so this sheet of paper, I cut a square sheet of paper. I cut this 8.5 by 8.5. So this was an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and now it's 8.5 by 8.5. So what I want to do for this sheet of paper is I want to create I'm going to say a 1/2 inch border all the way around. Now in this case, this sheet of paper, my ruler is definitely long enough to cover the whole distance. But I will show you how it's going to work if the paper is bigger than your ruler, because my rulers are 15 inches. Some rulers are 18, some of them are 24, some of them are only 12, okay? So mine are 15-inch rulers, so this works, but a project I let my students, or I have my students work on, the paper is 18 by 18 or 24 by 24, so if they're working on a big piece, this is not going to stretch the length, so you've got to figure out how to make a long enough line to stretch the length of the paper. So in this case, I just want to make a 1/2 inch border all the way around. So what I'm going to do is the edge of my ruler is not where the line is. The line begins right here. So don't put your paper all the way on the edge and then measure over an inch, because you're going to get an inch and like an inch and an eighth. We don't want to do that. So we want to make sure the edge of our paper starts right on the edge of this line. So I'm going to put this down, and the best way to get a straight line, because I could just measure over 1/2 inch and then draw a straight line, but how do I know it's straight all the way down? So I'm going to make a mark, okay, just a small little mark right there, and then I make another mark down here at 1/2 inch. So I'm in between the 1 and the 0, that's my 1/2. So I've got a 1/2 up here, I've got a 1/2 over here, and now I'm going to turn my ruler. You can turn your paper if you want instead of the ruler, but I'm going to turn my ruler, line up both, make sure you've got both dots or lines or marks lined up. I see a lot of students who just line up one and they forget about the other one, and they just draw a line and it completely misses their mark. So we want to make sure that we have both marks lined up before we make that line. I'm just going to go from edge to edge, top to bottom. I don't need to stop at the mark. I just want to go top to bottom straight away. And then I'm going to turn my paper and I'm going to do the same thing. So you could mark this completely before you make this, before you make any lines. You could mark it. Like I'm going to go ahead and mark it all the way around and then make my lines. So again, I'm top and bottom, 1/2 inch. Half inch. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and make my straight lines. Line up both of my marks. Make sure you don't aim at the wrong mark. I could easily try and go for this one on the bottom, but that's the wrong mark. I need to go for this one because I did that one up a little higher. And I'm just going to draw straight through so that I've got my line that way. And then This one looks like I'm gonna hit this mark, so I gotta be very careful. What I might wanna do is just extend this over just a little bit. That way I don't lose where that mark is. Okay. And then one more to go. Line up those two marks. If it helps you to turn the paper, turn the paper. If it helps to turn the ruler, just turn the ruler. Whatever works best for you. I'm gonna scoot this up. I'm getting out of my range, okay. And then just draw a line there. So now I've got a border all the way around. And my image that I will draw or paint or whatever it is that I'm gonna do in this, I will do right in the middle. I won't, if I go outside, I go outside, but I wanna make sure this is not an important part of the artwork on the outside, because if this gets covered with a mat, then that mat's going to come up and cover all the way to the edge. So I don't want to make something important on the outside. Okay, so if I have my border, and if I put my mat on, my mat will end up going to the edge roughly, and then I won't see that border line, and any artwork that ends up on the outside is gonna get covered up. So if this, I could even use this as an area to color or test out colored pencils or just sketch something, whatever it may be. This will all get covered up because I don't want to see these lines underneath my mat either. So I'll probably even cut my mat slightly bigger than, or slightly bigger than the lines. So that way it covers the lines as well. I don't want to see the lines in my artwork. So I want to make sure that I take my time, I do that correctly, and we won't have any issues with that. So, thank you very much. That is putting a border on your paper for artwork, and then potentially a mat. Especially if you don't want to go edge to edge, you don't want to have a piece of your artwork too close to the edge where it may get ruined from just shuffling or moving or transporting it from one place to another. Thank you.